she came back to the club after getting stitches and kept partying.
Yes, I love that.
They came up to the HiFi and then they were like, oh yeah, you guys got to come down and play the rub. And that was like 2006, I think.
I would come in and they would have it all selected for me because they knew I was going to buy a big chunk for myself and for the club.
Daft Punk Homework came out. I went to Toronto and I bought it from Tiga at the record store he worked at. George went from Cheers, came and hung out for like the whole night.
HiFi did everything in that sense. Like it started every relationship that mattered for us, even now.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me and the Tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales.
All right, I'm Smalltown Pete from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
And I'm Smalltown Mike, also from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And together we both opened a record store back in the early 90s. And then later we moved on to opening our first nightclub, which was the HiFi Club.
My guests this week on Roxy's Tales are Pete Emes and Mike Grimey of Smalltown DJs. Coming up in the Y2K era, they helped put Calgary, Alberta on the global map by opening HiFi Club, a room that became a gateway for underground sound and international artists alike. More than DJs, they were builders of culture, creating a path for music to travel across Canada and beyond, building a collision of global community. The HiFi story is a vital part of the ecosystem of music in the Y2K era of North America, and I feel extremely honored to have them on the pod to discuss it all and more. Without further ado, Smalltown DJs.
What was the record store?
It was called Giant 45, and it was a record clothing store. Yeah, back then, pre-internet, you could sort of like go see what was really cool, and then just say like find the company and then order it and bring it to Calgary.
What years was that?
So Giant 45 opened in 2003, and we right around then we also started a record label doing mashups. So we called High Karate, that was named after our club night. We were working with a distributor out of Chicago called Groove, and we would press these mashups that we were making for our DJ sets and sell them through Groove. And we were also ordering records through them. So that's how we got to meet a bunch of the crew, like the Rub and the Hollertronics crew and Fort Knox 5, was because all of our records were in the same bins at the record stores. And so at that time you would just check the Hotmail that was on there and like hit up the people and be like, hey, I like your mashups. And so that was how we got to meet all those guys.
So you were buying like the Hollertronics, Turntable Lab, Money Studies mashups and mixed CDs as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would play. I remember when we got the first Hollertronics mix CD, we played it in the store like every day for months because it fit the vibe perfectly.
And so you guys start DJing together at this time or before then?
Before then, yeah. We when I came back from Korea, and I'm thinking it was 99, Pete, or so, or
yeah,
what? Yeah, 99. The first weekend out, I stumbled into this place called the Embassy, and there was a party, and Pete was playing, and I had been DJing in Korea for about 4 years, and I just thought like a super hobby. I'd never thought I'd bring it back to Canada, and I came back, and a lot of that collection I had bought was exactly what Pete was playing, and I thought, holy shit, like it's kind of interesting to my taste, because I had no confidence in DJing. I was just like, I'm doing it in Korea, and just because they don't really understand this music, I'm getting away with it. Anyhow, yeah. So that night I approached Pete and I was like, man, I love your tunes. It's like, I got that Freestylers one. I got that, you name it. And a couple of weeks later, he invited me to play one of his gigs. And then, eventually we got a big gig together, and we called it High Karate. And that's the one that, we brought everyone into town that we could find, from J-Ray the Damager to Cosmo Baker.
Yeah, but we also teamed up with the like, there's a skate shop in town. So it was like, so we had all the skate kids right away, and we started the night in 99, and it was packed, like lined up down the street right away. And because we had teamed up with the Source, which is like the skate and snowboard shop out here. and then we brought, like, back then we brought DJ Assault. I remember in like 99 or 2000, we brought J-Roo. We brought Kenny Ken from the UK, the jungle DJ, who, like, the pioneer jungle DJ. We brought Africa Bambaataa. We brought and we were just trying to put on music that we loved, and so the kids started to catch on, and then after that it was like, we didn't think about doing anything else, because we were getting like a shoebox full of money every week, and we were stoked, and we were like, okay, let's go. And that's like a legendary Calgary club. It was called the Night Gallery, and it reminded me a lot when we first went to Southpaw. They were like exactly the same.
Oh wow.
It was like a rock club where we would do the DJ night on Thursdays and make the club a bunch of money, and then they would do like reggae and rock shows on the weekend that would be like kind of like sparsely attended, but awesome.
Yeah, like the owner basically would, he would disown us at any other night, but he was super happy at the end of a Thursday night because the bar had made the most money they're going to make.
How long did High Karate go on Thursdays there?
It was for 5 years at the Night Gallery, and then we opened HiFi in 2005.
Okay.
And then it went on for another
11 years.
Yeah, another 11 years after that.
Oh.
Some of the acts like Diplo and I think his first Canadian tour, we did it with the Toronto guys and with like the Vancouver guys, that you're probably already talking to. We'd bring Chromeo for like their first show out here, and like
Calvin Harris's first.
Yeah, Calvin Harris on his. Yeah, that was hilarious. Calvin Harris when his first DJ show, like after he stopped doing the band project.
Most of the time the crowd wouldn't even know who they were, but there was such a buzz about Thursdays, and we had kept such a consistent, roster. Like there would be like two of us, so we would play. Many times we'd have like a Vancouver DJ, and then we would have, say, like Bondi to roll, or who knows. We were always sort of getting fed things via this sort of network that I think you're talking to.
And then Hollerboard, lots of Hollerboard acts would come through.
So how were you on the board? Because of Turntable Lab? Like, how did you find out about the board?
I think it was because of the releases. Like,
we were probably promoting our shit. We were like figuring out a way to promote our shit.
Were there other message boards that you guys were on that were like around?
No, it was like the mashup. It was like the mashup message board. So that was what we were putting out. And
you were promoting with paper flyers, like local paper, and the Hollerboard.
Vice. We'd take a monthly ad in Vice at that time.
But there was also a weekly newspaper, like a music newspaper called Fast Forward at the time, and I think we would do a weekly in there, wouldn't we, Pete? I think.
Yeah,
that was probably the best one for us in the beginning.
And Beetroot, we did a full page in Beetroot too, which still exists. That was kind of like.
Those are local papers.
Yeah, local papers.
Yeah. But we did, we took a lot of pride in the posters, and we in the beginning I did the poster art, for the first, like I'd gone to design school and whatnot, and I had fun with it. But then when the club got going quite a bit, there's we had 3 or 4 shows a week. We hired a guy named Josh Ruck, and he was amazing. He started out sort of rough, and then just developed into this incredible designer. So we took all of it. We took as many, I think pretty much, I think we got every poster he ever did, and we started to weed paste all our hallway down to the washrooms, and then it became a thing. It was beautiful, and you could see like every show, and it was just like a good reminder of what the club. I think it gave the club sort of the history for the new young kids, because it just kept turning over with the age groups. And
and the art was always a big part of HiFi. Like we would do this guy Matt Luckhurst, who's now the head designer for Airbnb or something. He was like a local artist. We had McFetridge stuff because he grew up.
This is some Matt Luckhurst right here,
and he's like a legend now. Like, and then he's from here, so he did some stuff for us early on. We did Heavyweight, which is a gallery in LA. He's also from here, so he did some shows at the club. We did a Dust LaRock show at the club. We had a guy who Scott Furke, who's now a successful photographer in New York, but he was like the Cobra Snake of Calgary. And so when that stuff started to pop up,
Laser Fangs.
Laser Fangs. He called himself
Yeah.
Laser Fangs. And he did like the first like photo blog thing. So that was like that was a new thing that everybody went crazy for. Like everybody would check the internet the next day to see if their photo, they got on the, which is crazy. Like it's hilarious, but it, it's like it's so quaint. But that was the sensation. Like so, like and then so all the DJs that came, they all have like a Laser Fangs photo now. When we're looking back, and he was a great photographer. Like it really documented things well over the years.
And so his pictures were posted on Laser Fangs or your
laserfangs.com, I think it was. Yeah.
And then later onto our Facebook page for the HiFi.
Yeah.
We were already like, we felt old at that time, because we'd been DJing for like 10 years at that time already. So like these kids are coming up and they're like, he's like, I'm a photographer, I want to do Laser Fangs. We, the whole idea seemed kind of goofy anyway, but we were like, okay, the kids are into it, like let's go. And then it was like cool. It was super cool for the kids, and we were like, okay, we'll roll with it. I feel like that's been a theme, as you age out in the club scene. You're like, if you're just kind of roll with things, I think instead of being like resistant to change, then you're gonna be better off.
When did you start DJing, Pete?
The first time I DJ'd was at a hall party in grade 10, I think. So, and then I was like all over. After that, I was like how, I didn't think it could be a job, but that was like, that was the early 90s.
You were both collecting records from a young age?
Yeah, like I moved out to Toronto to London, Ontario, actually, for school, which is in between Toronto and Detroit. And and then I started to go to like John Aquaviva and Richie Houghton's parties out there. And then it was all over for me. I was like, that's all I wanted to do was try to, and all the Chicago and Detroit guys would stop in London on the way up to Toronto. So I got to see like guys like Derek Carter and guys like that in like a basement of a house for like 20 people, and so because they would stop and play a gig on the way to Toronto where they were playing the clubs. I couldn't afford turntables, so I would just go to Toronto and buy records and then try to play them wherever I could. Like I remember in '96, I went when Daft Punk Homework came out. I went to Toronto and I bought it from Tiga at the record store he worked at.
Wow.
And then I played I DJ'd at a house party, at like a college house party that night, and I just played like every song on Homework.
And what about you, Mike?
Yeah, I didn't really no, I was collecting CDs or just just the average music consumer when I was younger. So around 21, 22, I was around DJing, and I was doing a lot of graffiti. And so my buddies, one guy would be a b-boy, the other guy was like Dean Clark, who's a DJ, and I'd just sit in the DJ booth and watch. And I never thought in a million years I'd be doing that. But like, he'd be doubling It Takes Two, and I was just like, man, this is so creative. It's the coolest thing in the world. And then we would go out, have beers, and I'd paint a thing on a wall or something. And then somehow very quickly, I was invited to move to Korea, and I took all of my CDs and stuff that he recommended. And I was just like, in Korea with these CDs and going out to clubs and hearing the music and thinking, man, I've got all this music that they need to hear. So I would bring it in and give it to the Korean guy and say, track 6 or whatever. And then he would go ahead and put track 6 on. And then next week he's like, why don't you just come in and do this yourself? And it just sort of quickly snowballed into me going, well, if I'm going to do this, I really want to learn. So my first trip was to San Francisco and Santa Cruz, and I think one of the best places for me was Solid Groove.
Groove Merchant.
Solid Groove. Groove Merchant was awesome too, but the very first spot where they would pick records for me while I was gone. So for like 3 months, they would every big hit like Jason Nevins or whatever, like shit like that. I would come in and they would have it all selected for me because they knew I was going to buy a big chunk for myself and for the club. And so yeah, then I got into it that way, just like kind of just you know, as a side hustle while I was teaching English, and then that became really popular, and our nightclub was like, you know, slammed, and we kind of started. I feel like I was very lucky, my timing, and also maybe the fact that I wasn't that, you know, like hungry for it. It just sort of came naturally, and there was a void in that scene at the time, and you know, I found some technique turntables at this club called Hollywood near the U.S. Army base, and they were just like caked in, you know, dust, and they'd been sitting there for, you know, as I don't know, whatever, 10 years. And the guy gave them to me for $100. I cleaned them up, and they were like 1200s. They were in perfect working condition. So I got lucky. Everything just kind of worked out for me. And yeah, you know, I DJed there for about 4 years.
Like the whole network was so tiny back then. Like it was like, you know, your record collection was like basically your kind of like calling card or whatever, and then you know, all these people you would meet just you know, in different countries or whatever. It was like rare for somebody to have the exact same style or exact same collection as you.
It was your credibility.
It was your credibility. And so but that also like translated when we opened the club, because a lot of these people would come through, and we just, you know, hang out, and then that allowed us to start going to the States. And we would, you know, like that's how when we first went to the Rub, like that was kind of like the first kind of like clout party that we got to go and play down there. And Airs and Cosmo were like, they came up to the HiFi, and then they were like, oh yeah, you guys got to come down and play the Rub. And that was like 2006, I think, or 2005 or 6. And they were like, and we went down there, and we were like, this is insane. Like we're in Brooklyn playing at this, and it was like that party was so like kind of popping at that time, and
it was crazy, that party.
Party. And like we met like Dave
Nada
up from DC that night, and was like partying with us on stage. He wasn't even DJing at that time. I feel like after that, we kind of got invited to play a bunch of other like cool parties, like Taxlow in Baltimore, and some of the, and playing for Mel at Beauty Bar in Austin, and playing for Them Jeans in LA, and like and playing for Vince Soul in San Francisco, and like so we got to kind of connect with all those people that were potentially holler boarders, but also like that were doing the kind of crucial like cool parties, and then so that was I think that was because of you know, had a lot to do with the HiFi and opening HiFi for sure.
And you know, I think that in and amongst all that, Pete, you didn't mention South by Southwest, but I think that was South by Southwest was pretty much the ultimate meetup for everyone who had been sort of sharing shows, and you know, we got lucky. We got to play the Fader Fort.
That's right. Yeah, because Catch Dubs put us on the that party, the Fader Fort in New York too, for whatever that CMJ. Yeah. So we got to that was our first New York show, and then we played the Rub that same trip. Yeah, and we played with like Crystal Castles and Shout Out and the
Platinum Pied Pipers, I thought, played at the end.
And Tiambe Lockhart and and then Major Taylor from Philly.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And so that's right. That was our first trip, and that was kind of like, and then we got to go to South by that same or the next year and play at Fader Fort.
Yeah, South by was like our music camp, I feel like.
Yeah.
We all convened.
It's incredible.
When did you guys switch to Serato?
Oh, super early.
Yeah, right when it came out, and I think it was wasn't it because of Airs and Cosmo? And
I think Airs was like right away, or either Airs or Cosmo, but that was super early. So I remember we would in the beginning, we were the assholes who would go in and like turn up.
Dude, I remember going to Montreal and playing with Peer Pressure Crew.
Yes, and
we were at an after party that was like just epic. Like those guys threw like crazy parties, and they're
nuts.
We played an after party with them, and Grimy I was still on records, and Grimy was on Serato, and we got up and like just primed to go, and then the whole thing cut out, and we were like, it was like epic Serato fail. I remember.
Yeah, And some of those guys didn't even know what that was. I remember. So just in Canada, it didn't catch on quite as quickly, but we had a lot of those moments where we were like, plugging it in, shit was going wrong. So I remember that's why, and then we hung on to it longer than we should have as well, I think.
well, the other thing about Serato though, I love Serato, and I love Matt that Cut Corners that works there. He's a great dude and always a good liaison. But it also was kind of the beginning of the end for the record store too, because we we had our consistent sales week to week, and then after Serato came out and everybody started using it, it took about a year and a half or 2 years, but then it just killed the record sales at the store. So we were like, from there it was kind of the beginning of the end of the record shop. The other thing it killed was your your record collection being your like identity, and you're like having so much tied up in that, because it just like blew that whole world apart.
All the hard work and like the years of digging, or that special record you got in Japan, that shit didn't matter anymore pretty quickly.
What were some of the other cities and parties that you guys were playing?
Well, I was gonna mention that because in 2007 we got a Vegas weekly residency. So and that was through Thievery Corporation and Fort Knox 5, and so they booked us to play every Friday at Mandalay Bay, and we would we would play at HiFi on Friday, and they would
on Thursday,
and then on Friday morning we would have to basically have not gone to bed, and then go to the airport and fly to Vegas through Vancouver, because they didn't really have direct flights. And so we would and then we would get there and check in and crash, and then get up and DJ for like 6 or 7 hours at this new club, Eye Candy, where they put in like a Function One system and all these visuals. And then the first week it was like so epic. The sound was crazy. It's right in the middle of the casino. And then the pit boss came and was like, the dealers can't hear anything. Like, this is crazy. And then so they put a limiter on the system after that. It wasn't quite as epic, but we went to Vegas every Friday for like a year. But there wasn't much happening in the Vegas DJ scene at the time. It was just starting to build up, and it was before they were bringing in a bunch of like guests to play at the pools and stuff. That didn't really exist out there.
Yeah, there was no day clubs.
No, like Mighty My had moved out there. There was a couple guys that were doing
like Roxy.
Roxy was out there playing. Yep.
Like that was the era where we were, because they would fly us anywhere we wanted the next day. So Sunday or Saturday we could say we need this ticket to Mexico, or it could be to LA. So we played a lot of different cities at that point, just because it was it was a great offer to a promoter to not have to pay for your inbound
Did you
flight.
guys play in Mexico?
Yeah, at Santanera in Playa del Carmen, which was just epic club. Like, that was Thievery owned that one.
It was definitely more of an artsy crowd. Everything about La Santanera was clever because the Thievery Corporation was involved, and they just someone on that crew has a great eye for design.
Yeah.
Who else were you guys booking too at HiFi? I mean, you mentioned, like, did you have Crookers?
We had Crookers and Kid Cudi. We had Kid Cudi back in that first, like when he first hit with Day and Night. And both of those shows, we brought them separately within a couple months, and they were both so crazy. Like, wow. And now I feel like those were good examples of how, because Calgary's in the middle of nowhere, like, and prior to that era, like, there was a real regional disconnect between markets, because you had to drive. Like, we brought Soul Wax in like 2009, Soul Wax Live, and they had to drive from Philly to Calgary overnight in their tour bus. It took 2 days for them to get here. And I was like, that's the worst routing I've ever seen. And they were so crusty when they got here. And we were like, but at the same time, it was like that things were opening up like that because of the internet and MySpace, and like kids in Calgary were on to like all that stuff. Whereas previously they may not have been. And it was subject to like how the distribution channels were marketing certain other, more major labels and whatnot. So like Calgary became a viable market, and the the dollar, Canadian dollar was strong, so we were able to do fly-ins for a lot of these acts, and so that's why HiFi was kind of viable. So yeah, so who are some of the other acts we would bring in? Like
I was gonna say Proxy, Scream, pretty much anyone that Aoki, like so many times he would come back. He really loved Calgary for some reason. Aoki,
Mastercraft,
Mastercraft played a ton.
Well, Spank Rock for sure was a big one. The Very Best, that was a big one. Tribe Called Red on their early shows. Devin came.
Oh, Devin! Oh yeah.
Devin was so sick, and like people were so hyped for him. He did my voicemail, and I'll never forget. It was like, oh yeah, ain't nobody here. What up, y'all? This is Devin. You're calling for Pete, so leave a message and make it short and sweet.
Oh my god!
And that was my voicemail for like 10 years.
What year was that?
That was probably like 2006 or something, or 7, right around that same time.
Matt and I did Devin in 2005, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
And Khalees and Nas came to that show.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. But you know who I was going to say? You guys also played in Honolulu with SK and Nocturnal Sound Crew. I talked to SK yesterday.
We did. Was that at Harvey's Bar, I think?
Yes, 39 Hotel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I played there too. I think the first time that I played Vancouver was actually at Shine.
That would make sense because that club was really busy.
Yeah, and they would have at Big Sexy Funk at Shine, they had Kate from Stinkmit, who we played at Taxlow with them.
Oh yeah.
And she was the MC there, and they were tight with Peaches, and Peaches and Stinkmit were kind of that was like Canadian, like kind of like
I toured with Marin.
Marin,
and she brought Peach, like after a Peaches show, she hosted something like for us. It was like a night that Nina Sky and I had done for a while, and she's like, "Oh, Peaches is in town." I was like, "Oh, she comes?" She's like, "Yeah, you want her to host?" And I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
that shit blew my mind.
Yeah, they were really tight.
Any ridiculous and fun stories from HiFi?
Well, one of them was I got one when it's the statute of limitations has been long enough, but remember when Dylan Francis hit the girl in the head with the skateboard?
Oh yeah.
What?
Because there was because he had a piñata on his rider, and nobody ever got him his full rider, but we got him a piñata, and so he was super stoked. So we hung it up on stage, and we used, all our staff used to skate to work, so there was like always like tons of skates in the office. So we didn't have a bat for the piñata, so we got him a skate deck, and he was like, "Okay, this will work." And like he was like, "All right." And everybody was going crazy. The crowd was going crazy. It was like, right as Dylan started to pop off, like his career started to pop. And so and right as he was swinging the skate deck at the piñata, a girl jumped on stage and got caught with a wheel or a side of the deck in the head. And
fuck.
She had to go to the hospital to get stitches, and Dylan was backstage, and he ran backstage, and we were like, it was like crisis mode. We were like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. And like, she had to go to the hospital, and then she came back to the club after getting stitches and kept partying.
Yes, I love that. Wow.
Oh, also when like Diplo used to come through a lot, and he before the first Major Lazer record, he premiered all the songs for the staff, and was like after hours everybody left, and he just hung out and kept DJing for like 3 hours just for the staff. And he was like, "We got this new stuff with Switch, I want to play it for you guys," because he like loved the staff and respected the crew. And so he was like, he was just stoked that everybody was so hyped on the music and the project, and like everybody got like a sneak peek of the first Major Lazer. A bunch of random celebrity hangouts at HiFi. Like I remember Coldplay being on the dance floor. George Wendt from Cheers came and hung out for like the whole night at the bar, and like hung out with all the staff and just posted up at the bar. And we were like, this is the greatest moment ever. Like Norm from Cheers hanging out at the bar. Charles Barkley came and was like, Barkley hung out for the whole night and was partying with everybody, and like super cool. Like just those are like the super random like celebrity nights are pretty sweet. Like that, especially since based on the fact that we're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you guys got a like around for owning a nightclub.
Oh yeah, well we didn't manage it. Like we were just doing. We were kind of like the creative directors basically.
Yeah.
But the nightclub though, with that was 100% the reason that it enabled us, because you'd have the guests in, you'd forge a friendship, and then they would invite you out. So I mean, really, HiFi did everything in that sense. Like it started every relationship that mattered for us.
Yeah.
Even now, like think about how we just did a track on Fool's Gold like 6 months ago, and that all happened simply because we brought A-Track and Nick Catch-Dubs and all those guys back in the day.
Yeah, I remember we used to go down to Vegas for Magic back in the day.
For the show.
So that was another place where you'd connect with everybody, and the Vice they were always throwing the best parties out there. And it was
I actually found a flyer. You guys were probably there in 2000.
Savvy Fav and like the Stills and DFA 1979. Like those were kind of like the bands they would book.
Yeah, so cool. What songs personify that decade for you? 2000 to 2010.
Oh man,
I really still like Losing My Edge by LCD, because I feel like it's still a great song. And it's like, LCD, people have their opinions on them, but it's like, for me, it really kind of captures that era.
There's some things that were so distilled, like that inspired us to even throw different mixes together. And I mean, the holotronic stuff was like that. Anytime you saw Paul DeVreau DJ,
I would say
you'd walk away with something.
Maybe Galang by MIA is a big one too.
Galang by MIA would be a good one. Yeah.
Have you guys heard the mashup with Drop the Pressure and Miami Sound Machine?
Yes. Yeah.
Of course.
We never played that, but I remember just seeing people play it, and it just killing the dance floor. People loved it. But what was the song that Pace Rock did with Spank Rock? That was
the Lindsay Lohan's Revenge.
No, not Lindsay Lohan's Revenge.
Something like
So Fucking Disco.
No, not So Fucking Disco. The one that was like that was unreleased.
Oh, Shake It Till My Dick Turns Racist. Race Riot on the dance floor.
Yeah, right on the dance floor. Because we got that from the Spank Rock dudes, and we loved playing it because nobody had it. We were like, this is the best song ever.
Yeah.
It really was. They only did it live.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That was like having that song was like big.
Yeah.
Because
so good.
Everyone loved to hear it, and nobody had it, Oh, you know what I was going to say, what we forgot to touch on was we got signed by Plant by Dom and Stretch.
Oh wow, yeah.
Early on. So they put out a couple of our records that we did with Wax Romeo.
You guys have contributed so much to the scene, and like really made, I think it was Jason that said like HiFi made touring so much easier and capable for artists to like get everywhere in Canada, especially throughout. So I knew you guys would have a good one.
Great.
So if you have any follow-up questions or anything or anything you want to chat about, just hit us up.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic project. I'm looking forward to
awesome
seeing the end product. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.